I'm here with the one and only American Nightmare.
And this
Cody.
is Yep, I jumped you. We're on the Enlightened Comedy channel. You need to subscribe. You got to turn on notifications. The whole deal, right?
Definitely.
Look at this Darby. Give me the one side. Oh, that's dope. That's dope. And this your friend? Are we ignoring?
Yes.
Get in here, baby. Enlightened Comedy. Subscribe. Turn on the notifications. Do it now.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Beatdown! Welcome to the show. I am one of your hosts for this evening, Brandon, and we're going to roll off our introductions just so you know who everybody is today. We'll start right there to my left, your right, at the end.
My name is Robert, and I am an old school wrestling fan, over 30 years strong, baby.
I go by the name Pooh. Been a wrestling fan since 1984. I'm Jeffrey. I've been a fan since the early 2000s.
I am Jawan, casual wrestling fan. I am 2 months in.
I wouldn't say 2 months, though. You know, you grew up in your own era and everything like that, trying to find a love for the sport again. And, of course, as you've seen from many of the videos on Enlightened Comedy, I already said my name. My name is Brandon. Let us get to the topic of the matter today. Yes. I have brought my family here with me. We are about to discuss a topic that I feel like is almost critical to any wrestling fan discussion. You know, any sport, any form of entertainment, you're always going to be trying to knock down, well, who is the best? That's something that we're going to cover down on the Beatdown a lot. But for this first edition, we would like to just talk about who are our own personal wrestling Mount Rushmore. Now, I like to keep it open because I didn't want anybody to, feel constricted to those things. The only thing is you got to name four. Four, Mount Rushmore has, four in, the continental United States and Dakota, how many presidents there are, and we're going to take four, so our own personal four. There's many parameters that our, hosts, contestants, correspondents today, use to measure their own metrics. So I had my own, Jeff had his own, Pooh, Dad, Jawan, but we're not going to dilly-dally any longer. Ladies and gentlemen, who would like to go first on their own personal wrestling Mount Rushmore?
Me, coach.
All right, let's do it, cuz.
For the men.
Who you got?
Like I said before, casual wrestling fan. I haven't watched wrestling since I was like 10, 25 now. Do the math on that one. But the four I picked are old school. Back when I was watching, back when wrestling was the thing back then, the Attitude Era. My four, not in particular order. First, I'm going to hit you with The Undertaker. Second, China.
A huge moment!
Third, Jeff Hardy.
That's obsolete.
And fourth is going to be Eddie Guerrero.
Latino Heat.
Challenge me. Where we go next?
All right, well, I'll jump right in. This was a difficult decision. So many great wrestlers throughout the decades and throughout each era. Tried to be unbiased because I do have my favorites, but you have to look at the whole body of work. So let me start with the first one. Woo! My childhood favorite, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!
Rest in peace, The Undertaker. And third, but not in this particular order, because Stone Cold said so. And that's the bottom line.
What?
And fourth on Mount Rushmore, you better eat your vitamins, brother, and let me tell you something.
We've been hanging and banging, brother.
Hulkamania, Hulk Hogan. Those are my four on my Mount Rushmore, fellas.
All right. I hear you.
That's a classic choice right there.
As for myself, as I said, I was a wrestling fan from around early 2000s, late 90s, but early 2000s. That's where I really remember things. My list, I went more for the face of eras at that time. Number one, without him, we would not have wrestling. Bruno Sammartino.
The most popular champion in wrestling history.
He's the greatest of all time. Second would definitely have to be, I don't like this guy.
I'll be trying to drink their own sweat to survive, brother.
Eat your vitamins, brother. Hulk Hogan. All right. He's done a lot of amazing things for the business. He's a lot of the reason why we have wrestling today, right now. Next is he's gonna take you on, drop you on the deck, the stock your dives, and call him next. Stone Cold, Stone Cold, Stone Cold. And then everyone's favorite guy to hate, John Cena.
If you want some, come get some.
Man, you killed it with JR and that meme right there, man. I loved it. Stone Cold voice was on point too.
Yeah, I think everybody here had awesome choices, but y'all mind if I go next?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead and steal the spotlight.
All right. See, the thing about it is, it's almost like, Mr. Robert here just peeked in my notes because it's been, something on my mind. A lot of them I juggled with, and I thought about reasons why I picked who I picked. When you only limit yourself to 4, when you've been exposed to pro wrestling as long as I have, that choice becomes very difficult. But like my buddy Mr. Robert here, I have to say, without a shadow of a doubt, Hulk Hogan.
I love him like a brother.
And Ric Flair
But to be the man, you gotta beat the man.
would definitely have to be on that list. Ric Flair, by far the most decorated world champion in wrestling of all time. He epitomized the way a champion is presented, the way a champion goes around, the way a champion represents a company, represents a brand. Ric Flair without a doubt. I couldn't have put it better, Jeff. Hulk Hogan made wrestling what it is. No matter what wrestler you're a fan of, especially at this day and time, Ric Flair had, Hulk Hogan had a hand in ushering those guys in. Hulk Hogan definitely deserves to be on that list. This guy just turned wrestling on his head and redirected pro wrestling away from the way Hogan and Flair directed it. That's my man Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I said, give me a hell yeah.
He ushered in a wrestling boom. In the 80s, wrestling became like a cult following. And when it got a little bit of momentum, it became kind of the corny thing to like. But you cannot think about 90s wrestling without Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin definitely goes on that list. Last but definitely not least, the dead man, The Undertaker. You cannot put no other wrestling character out there to distribute what pro wrestling is from a character standpoint, the way The Undertaker has done it. Nobody can say anything negative about the man. Nothing but respect. No matter what company you come from, no matter what business you come from, The Undertaker, just unbelievable amount of respect that you hear fans and other wrestlers and peers that's a part of wrestling just talk about that man. So Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair.
Wow.
4 for 4 over here.
Okay.
4.
I would expect the old school fans to have some similarities or anything like that. I can appreciate that my father and Pooh both had the traditional list that I would expect a lot of wrestling fans to have. I respect it. I also respect Jeff, my man right here coming through with his face of every era. You know, I love any recognition of my man John Cena over here. But I also appreciate my cousin Jawan for having the courage and the boldness thereof to stand for what he believes his own personal picks are, despite what any of y'all naysayers might say in the comment section. Because let's be honest, wrestling fans can be a little rowdy.
I'm gonna get roasted.
But
That man say Jeff Hardy.
But as your man right here, as Brandon himself would say, respectfully, I believe that my Mount Rushmore is a definitive list for wrestling. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why because I believe that my 4 picks, though similar to theirs, I'm going to add a little bit of extra sauce. No, I did not pick every generation. No, I did not pick the traditional ones that you would think. Well, so on, so you add, give or take. But I'll give you the reasons. So my 4 are the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Woo! As everyone's reluctantly has said, a real American. Hulkamania, brother.
Unexpected.
That's Hulk Hogan. I'm also gonna throw in Undertaker, the dead man, the Phenom. And the difference between mine, Dad's, Pooh's list is that I dare to put The Rock.
You know your damn role and shut your damn mouth.
Over Stone Cold Steve Austin. So you can challenge me on that. But
Words right there.
you said what?
Fighting words right there.
Yeah, fighting words. Okay, well, let me say it. When I think of Ric Flair, I'm not going to rehash anything else anyone has already said. But Ric Flair is the quintessential pro wrestler. He is the world champion.
16 times.
16 times, even more if you count those other records and other title reigns that WWE does not acknowledge.
It can be, at least 25 altogether?
Right. But I'm going to give a counterpoint even to my point that I'm about to back up right now. Oh, you say Ric Flair. He wasn't even the first Nature Boy. He wasn't the first pretty boy, dyed hair, blonde, the robes, all he wasn't the first. You had your gorgeous Georges. You had your Buddy Rogers. But let me tell you why Ric Flair makes this list in the Mount Rushmore. Because he did it better than anybody else. When you look at Flair's overall body of work, the presentation, the factions, the promos, the in-ring work, Flair hits everything. So that can tell you right there that Flair is I would say he's the top one of all time. And he's my number 1 favorite. And he's not my number 1 favorite, but he is the top one of all time. Let's move on to Hogan. When you think of a draw, when you think of a superhero, you think of the larger-than-life comic book bursting out. One of the biggest eras of wrestling that I only know through history and watching old videos, not through personal experience. That's Hogan. And Hogan did it better. And he did it first. I love Cena. If you ask me who I would pick over my favorite and who I would go with Cena because I grew up on Cena. But Hogan did it first. There would be no Super Cena without Hogan doing it first. There would be no WrestleMania without Hogan doing it. He really transcended the business in that instance. So I got to give it up to him, even though there's a table full of black men. He might not say kind words, off to the side. But now let's go with The Undertaker. The streak. The presence. When you think of an iconic wrestling character that on paper, let's be real, only worked at that era for a very specific reason. A zombie in today's era, people wouldn't believe it. But you had someone who literally was his character day in, day out. I love it. And let's move on to The Rock. I picked The Rock because when you look at promos, you look at the money draw, you looked at the character. Yes, Stone Cold arguably could be that. And even though he was the top babyface at that time, the reason why The Rock is in this era, is in my Mount Rushmore, is because of the unique thing that he brings. When you think of megastar, you think of a wrestler that has transcended wrestling in of itself. Everybody knows who The Rock is. Everybody knows who Dwayne Johnson is. I know people who don't even know he was a wrestler. Because he's literally that big of a megastar movie star. And if we're talking about wrestling, we're talking about making money, and we're talking about the people who literally put butts in seats, electrify the masses, and can carry that medium into so many different places. A big time star, that's The Rock. And the other thing that he brings to wrestling is literally like a family lineage and legacy. So many great families, the Rhodes, the Harts, the Funks, the Von Erichs. You can name as many of whatever era you want. The Noai family with The Rock, Rikishi, the Wild Samoans, Yokozuna, the Usos, Reigns, however many. That legacy and that family is so present within WWE's lore and in the business of itself. And when you account in the charisma, transcending the business and all those things, that's why The Rock comes in and where he's at.